Yes, welcome back. Hope you've been blessed by that. Not by might, nor by power, but by your spirit, God Almighty. So I'd requested that because I knew whatever we are talking about today, process, I knew we cannot do it by our own strength. It is not by might, nor by power, but by your spirit, Lord Almighty. So now we continue. I now want us to look at David. Remember, we are talking about process, right? David went through the process. David was in the wilderness. This guy was tending sheep. While David was in the wilderness, God was teaching him battle. David, there was a time when he was looking after his father's sheep. He says, a lion and a bear came, and I taught them. You see, David was being prepared. He was being prepared for battle. To an extent, when he saw Goliath, it was nothing new. David was not shivering, wondering, what is this? He started reminding himself. He even said, no, the God who gave me victory when the lion attacked the lambs, that same God will give me this uncircumcised Philistine. The advantages of people who have gone through process. When you go through process, it gives you wisdom. It brightens up your mind. You get ideas. What do I mean? There was a time David's son performed a successful coup. David's son removed him from the throne, and David had to run away. He had to go into the wilderness. And I'm trying to imagine, before we went on a break, there's that story I gave about a family that was moving from Lavington, coming all the way back to Eastlands, and it was bad for them. It was a major transition that the children were even crying and they were screaming because they have never seen that. That could have been David. Can you imagine you are coming from State House? You are coming from hot shower, morning breakfast in bed. You have VIP security. You have an entourage when you want to leave. To now, you are somewhere hiding in the forest, in the caves. You have no hot shower. You have no morning breakfast. You have no house helps to bring you whatever you want at any time. There's nothing. You are just in the cold. You are there in the wilderness. But David did not cry. He did not give up. Do you know why? He was smiling. He remembered how he used to live in the wilderness when he was taking care of his father's sheep. He remembered how he used to just hide in those caves when he saw a lion approaching the lamb, when he saw a lion approaching the herd. It was memory lane for him. It was just going down memory lane. And that's why there was a time when Saul was pursuing David. David hid so well. Do you know that story? To an extent, David was able to cut a piece of Saul's clothing. Imagine, and Saul did not feel anything. You know, I'm trying to imagine like this shirt that I've worn. For somebody to be able to cut it, and I'm not feeling it, it means the person is skillful. So this person was used to this life. He was not new. So he was not crying, oh, I want to go back to State House. I want my hot shower. I want my 10 o'clock tea. No. This man was a warrior. He had learned, like Paul, he was saying, I have learned to be content in all circumstances, with or without. That is why God needs to take some of us through process, so that you can be like David. Whether you put me in State House or you put me in the wilderness, I'm telling you, I will survive. There are people who survive so well, but only when the environment is conducive. The moment you take them to a harsh condition, I'm telling you, their survival tactics go back to zero. There's a program called Survive. I'm sure some of us have watched it. I think it's filmed or shot in Australia about how some people are surviving in the wild. And I was watching a certain episode where a certain lady was even crying because now she misses her hot water, she misses internet, she misses electricity, and she was crying because it reached a level now her body could not take it, her emotions could not take it. There are people like that. The moment they are removed from their safe habitat, I'm telling you, they break, they shut, they can't even think. They are now crying. They are not even in a state to think clearly. You ask them, what do we do? I don't know. They are just crying. Be somebody like David. David was smiling. He was enjoying. And like we saw in Rambo movies, I'm sure he could take matope, anajipaka, so that he can look like the way the night looks. You know, when you're white or when you're too bright at night, you can be caught. That's why thieves don't wear white shirts or white clothes. You wear black so that you blend in, okay? Camouflage. You look like the night. So I'm sure maybe David was even enjoying this. He was applying mud on himself. They had black things on them so that nobody sees them in the cave. It was nothing new for him. He had been through process in the wilderness, anointed while he was a teenager, but he came to take the throne when he was almost 30. The man had 15 years of patiently waiting, 15 years of training, 15 years of nobody recognizing you. I was watching a certain comedian, okay? He's a comedian who comes, I think it's on Churchill, and he was saying that before we knew him on the screens, he was doing comedy for almost 8 years. Nobody knew him. Nobody knew him. And for us, we think that from the first day we saw him on the screen, that was the time he started comedy. He started a long time ago. Sometimes I wonder, I see musicians being interviewed, and you hear musicians saying, I've been singing for 10 years, I've been singing for 18 years, and you wonder, I've never seen you. Do you know what was happening? They were being crushed in the process. If you've been singing for 10 years, why are we only hearing of you in 2020? It is because for the past 10 years you've been crushed in the place of isolation. You've been going through process in the place of darkness, so that when you come to light, you don't embarrass God. You don't start doing things which people will wonder. You know, we've had very funny cases in our nation of very high profile people who have lost their offices because they did not know how to act in the public. Right? You all remember the story of a former, I think, deputy CJ, who lost her job simply because she pinched a watchman, right? And she told her, you should know people. You see, there are things, if you don't go through process, I'm telling you, you will do, and that's what I'm telling you, they will cost you when you're at the peak of your career. When everyone is just beginning to know me in Kenya, you are on top, every person is calling you, then you just go somewhere and you pinch the watchman and you tell them, you should know people. And that is how you trend, and that is how people request for you to be sacked, and I'm telling you, your career ends just like that. Because you didn't go through process. When you go through process, you don't even care. If you don't open the door for me, it's okay. I will open it for myself. Why? Because I'm a David. I was trained in the wilderness. I battled with lions. So you think you can now scare me with your little puppies and your little horses here? I have dealt with bears. And that's why David was like, bring it on. Saul, you're trying to kill me. Bring it on. Come with your best army. And they could still not find him. Because as I started by saying, wilderness, the process makes you wise. It opens up your brain. You become creative. You become calculative. You check every step that you make very keenly. And so Saul was coming, and Saul was getting worked up. He was asking his elite soldiers, you are the best of the best. You are the KDF. You are the Reke squad. You cannot even find one person. Saul came with his best of the best, and they were still not finding David. Saul became agitated. He said, get me FBI, get me CIA. What's wrong with these people? Get me the military, get me the Navy, get everyone here. And with all that resource, they still could not get David. One man. I'm telling you, when you go through process, you can cause an entire army to have sleepless nights because of you. When you go through process, I'm telling you, the nation of Kenya, the president may lack sleep because of you. Atasema, I am not sleeping until I meet this person. Who is this person that is bringing turbulence in our airwaves? Who is this man? Who is this woman? Go through process, and a time will come that governments have to consult with you. Before they do anything, they have to consult with you. And like I've told you, you can never bribe process. Process can never be bought. You can never bribe it. You go through it. You don't do it like Jacob. Jacob was a trickster. And those who are with us before he went on a break, I said when Jacob was in his wee years, he said, my life is miserable. Do you know why? Because he had gotten used to the life of tricking people. And you can never have a good life in this world if you have always lived a life of tricking people. One way or the other, somewhere down the line, your tricks always catches up with you. Even these people who make fake money, don't you see how sometimes in the news they are busted? You can never make fake money forever. We have one of the greatest drug lords of history, Pablo Escobar. This guy, at one point, he was among the top 10 wealthiest people on earth. But how did the guy die? The guy died like a dog. He was shot while trying to flee with one shoe on. He didn't even have one shoe. No matter how mighty you are, if you are always using trickster methods, one day your ways will find you out. You are stealing from people, one day, I tell you, no matter how mighty. Can you imagine rising to the ranks of becoming, I think this guy was, if not sixth, the seventh. Imagine it reached a point he was the seventh wealthiest man on earth. Can you imagine what it is to be in top 10? Right now, I think in the current Forbes list, for those who have checked, the wealthiest man on earth right now was over $100 billion net worth. I think it was the Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates. These people are almost at 90 and $100 billion. Now imagine to be number 7. Let's give you, maybe you are roughly around 40-something billion dollars, for you to be somewhere there around number 7, or even 50 billion, if number 1 is at 100. Now that is how mighty this man was. And he was supplying drugs all over Colombia, all over Mexico, all over US, Miami. He was the mighty of the mightiest according to his eye. Where is he right now? He was brought down. No matter how high you are, if you have built your foundation on something that has not gone through process, I'm telling you, sooner or later your building is coming down. And it is so painful to begin when others are moving ahead. It is so painful to begin. It is so painful to begin when you see your friends finalizing. It's when you are starting. When other people are calling you for their graduation, you are beginning. When other people are calling you for their house dedication, you are beginning. It's when you are trying to move out of your father's house because you delayed. You hated the process. No matter how much you're postponing it, you will have to go through it. So the sooner, the earlier, the better, I tell you. You can never escape process. And so as we're almost summing up, let me tell you the story of Moses. Moses was called the meekest man on earth. Do you know why? Because Moses went through wilderness for 40 years. He went through that process for 40 years. If you read the entire Bible, I don't think there's anybody who went through a process of 40 years. Even Abraham, they just waited for a child for, I think, 24 years maximum. So the only other person who is rivaling Moses is Abraham. Now, I asked myself, why is Abraham called the meekest man on earth, the meekest man to live? It is because he went through the longest process. So in short, the longer your stretch, the greater your reward and blessing. There is nobody who outdid Moses. Nobody's stretching went past 40 years. So then nobody could be called the meekest. It had to be Moses. He carried that crown. He carried that crown of the day to be called the meekest. Why? Because he went through the most. Others went through 5 years, others went through 10 years, and then the issue was over. But the one who went through the longest got the best accreditation. So why is it that you want to go through something for only 5 months, and then you want a blessing that looks like 40 years? It does not work like that. You have to be patient. The tallest building in the world, I think it has 154 floors. It's in Dubai, right? Just working on the foundation. I'm telling you, it did not take 1 day. It did not take 2 days. It did not take 2 months. It did not take even 1 year. It took years. Just working on the foundation, they had to make sure that whatever we are bringing up that is going up, 154 floors up, the foundation is almost equally same in depth. It has to go way, way deep. Or else one day that building will come tumbling down. So sometimes, depending on how high you have to go in life, it will depend with how low God will take you. And sometimes God can take you so low that you feel offended. Your friends are on their 5th child. You haven't even started a family. Your friend is on the 3rd car. You haven't even bought a bicycle. Your friend is finishing their masters. you are struggling to get a certificate. Sometimes God can stretch you so bad until you feel like it's unfair. Because your building is tall, so the foundation has to be deep. And I'm telling you, sometimes when God is digging you, when God is taking you through process and is digging you and is taking you down, people laugh at you. I'm sure when this building was being constructed, the tallest building, when they were digging the foundation, I'm sure other buildings were coming up. Other buildings were being built at the same time. And I'm sure the owners were wondering, hey, we started our building last year and we are finished. You are still talking of your building. And you know, all the other buildings were laughing. Ah, you keep talking of your building. When will it come up? We keep hearing. But one day, when they finished the foundation, lo and behold, when the building started coming up, it was the tallest. We don't know about these other buildings that came up around the same time. We don't know their names. We only know of the tallest because you will be rewarded when you toil the longest. You will be rewarded when you do the best. We don't recognize these others that try to come up. And so let me finish with this story of an elephant, because I had some other points, but probably we'll pick them up at another time. I like saying the story of an elephant, that the gestation period of an elephant is 2 years. Can you imagine? A gestation period. Mtoto, just the baby staying in the tummy. 2 years. And I was saying there's this story of an elephant and a rabbit. You know, a rabbit, the gestation period is months. 3 to 6 months. So you can imagine in 1 year, can you imagine? A rabbit is capable of giving birth 3 times in 1 year. So the rabbit and the elephant were both pregnant at the same time. And the rabbit gave birth to four children, or whatever they are called, the young ones of a rabbit. And then after another 4 months, the rabbit again gave birth. And then the rabbit came at the end of the year and asked the elephant, are you really sure you are pregnant? Because, you know, elephant, I've actually given birth 3 times while you are still claiming to be pregnant. The following year came. A new year, the rabbit gave birth again. First time, the rabbit gave birth again second time, and came and said, elephant, I think now you should go see a counselor. Your case is now serious. You keep telling people you are pregnant, but it has been 2 years. We are not seeing anything. Are you sure? Are you sure you're not you're just puffing yourself up with false information? But you know, one day, after 2 years were over, when the rabbit was having her 10 or whatever, 20 children, because you know the rabbit has given birth multiple times, the elephant just told the rabbit, please move your children out of the way. Because whatever I'm about to release, when it falls on your children, they will all die. What am I saying? The elephant waited for 2 years. But the day the elephant is giving birth, I am telling you, the ground will shake. People will hear it. You see, when the rabbit is giving birth, nobody even knows. Nothing for, we don't hear boo, we don't hear nothing. But the day the elephant was giving birth, all the baby rabbits had to clear. They had to scatter for safety. When God is going to pick up your file and say, now it is your time, I'm telling you, the people who kept mocking you, they will have to scatter for safety. They will have to say, move, the elephant is coming. Don't think God has forgotten you. Go through the process quietly. I am telling you, the day God picks up your case, people will have to scatter, or else your blessing will crush theirs. If you don't remove your children, or rabbit, my child will crush all your kids, because what I'm bringing is heavy. So learn to be patient with God. Learn to go through process. Learn to know that when the time comes for that breakthrough, nobody will be able to stand in the way. They will have to scatter for safety. So the Lord bless you. And I hope we meet again. As you have a wonderful day, go through the process quietly. Don't complain. Don't murmur. Let God vindicate you. Have a wonderful time. Keep it JTV, your #1 Christian channel. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. Interact with me also, Kelvin Obonyo. Till we meet again, have a wonderful time.